In this Demon Soul Remake Build guide, we are going to take a closer look and can cover the Mage's build that I love to call the Battle Mage build. That is a beginner friendly to advanced build guide that uses magic to destroy his enemy with zero ease. No matter it is in PVE or PVP, the Battle Mage build guide is a build that can do it all with zero problem. This build is constructed for you to be a very strong at certain different circumstances. We do use the melee weapons, we use the bow weapons, but if in only in dire situation, if it's truly needed for us to be used. But if we do use it, we are still effective, very effective to use it. So it is a very diverse type of build. This build is gonna make you the Kobe Bryant of all the builds within Demon Soul itself. And one thing you need to remember very carefully, that in enhancing this build, we're using different form of buffs to make sure that our weapon output is extremely strong. From different weapons, from gear sets, from rings that we use, all of that, make sure that our damage output is enhanced extremely strong. But we're gonna come to that in a very closer look during the build itself. But let us be clear as well, within Demon Souls, that the mages build in the Demon Souls are the most OP beginner friendly builds that exist themselves in the game. Why is that? Because even though that the creators of the game itself are trying to min-max level the playing field between the melee builds and the mages build, the mages build is still the one of the most friendly build to start if you wanted to learn the game, the mechanics of the game, and find a way through different builds. The Mage's build through all the Soul series are the most OP builds of them all. One class that we chose actually to make sure that we have a solid class to start with is the Royalty. The Royalty is one of the most amazing builds classes that give us from the start the Silver Catalysts, the Silver Cornea, and the Frigate Ring. Both of them regain a Magicka very simply. And it's a very nice tools to have. That's something that the magic class doesn't give you, these items, which makes the Royalty more a forgiving class to begin for beginners players to use, for you to learn the mechanics, to learn the game itself, and at the same time learning the tricks of the games itself. One tips I will gonna give you as a beginner player: make sure in your offhand you have your catalyst, and your main hand, your main weapon. Make sure that you learn how to play and use your magic on your offhand, because you're gonna use certain weapons on your main hand that will buff your magic and overall, but it will come clear on the stats and the equipment use that we use in advanced to end game tier level. In this Demon Soul build guide, we're gonna take a closer look at the stats, the gear sets, and of course we're gonna showcase you a PvP gameplay of innovation that happens, so you have an overall viewpoint where this build actually looks like, plays like, and feels like. And the first step we're gonna do first of the stats of the builds, and we'll construct the stuff from the grounds up. So how does the Battle Mage stats actually looks like? What I invested myself into making this build, I put 41 points into Vitality. You can always put more if you're going to more than New Game +5, all the way to 100 if you need to, doesn't matter. The more vitality you have, the much harder it is for you to be one-shotted in the game itself, and makes your life much easier moving forward. I've put it 14 points into endurance, just to make sure I have more stamina. I can have more equipment debuffing myself. I took 20 points into strength. The reason I put 22 points into strength to make sure that my main weapon that I use from DPS, melee weapons, are strong enough. Dexterity 16 points, that will make sure that I can use the bow, for example, or any other weapons that needs certain form of a dexterity points for me able to use it. And of course I put 50 points into magic, because that is my bread and butter, a form of DPS output. So that's the most important thing that we need to invest ourselves as high as possible, because that will make sure that I can one-shot every single boss of NPC in the game itself. I put 16 points into Faith. The only reason I put 60 points into Faith because I only need 2 miracle points to use the last new chance ability. 60 points will activate that ability for me. That's only I'll invest in that. That's more than enough. And a 7 into luck, of course. I put 40 points into intelligence. For the only reason I put 40 points into intelligence is that the maximum cap for magic memory within Demon Souls is 6 slots. So 40 points will make sure that I have the maximum cap. So investing more into intelligence than 40 points is just a waste of resources. The three abilities that I'm gonna invest myself. The first is gonna be vitality, intelligence, and magic. These are the three most important slots I invest myself very first. I make sure that I have 30 points into vitality first, 40 points into magicka, and 40 points into intelligence as fast as possible. But if you're moving towards yourself, towards New Game Plus, your stats in in-game gonna look something like this. 41 into intelligence, 40 into magicka, that's it. The equipment that you use within Demon Souls are extremely important because that will buff your overall DPS output that you have. The reason that I try to advise you from the beginning to have your main weapon on your main hand and your magic weapon on your offhand, because the simple fact that the main weapon will boost your DPS output. With a ring of magical sharpness, we increase our magical output to a significant number, again cumulative to the base weapon damage you already have. Your Insanity Catalyst is our main bread and butter of weapon adjustment tool that we're using in form of DPS output. You can find this in the Tower of Latria Tier 3 by defeating the Old Monk in PvE or PvP. But I advise you as a player that you go in PvP by being the boss itself of the zone. By defeating your other PvP player, you will receive the Monk's Head Weapon. The Monk's Head Weapon itself will increase in a cumulative rate from your base damage. Around 30% more extra spell damage you will receive. By having the Crisp Blade equipped on your main hand and your Catalyst on your offhand, you will have the Crisp Blade increase of another 30% spell damage. Insane Catalyst itself is the highest magical adjustment that we already have, but the downside tool about this ability is that it halves your magical pool by 50%. So there's a high risk, high return form of DPS output. To increase all of that, again, we're using the magical sharpness that will have 20% more extra spell damage. Yes, and all of this, I say it again, it's not additive, it's all cumulative. So your base damage, your everything is cumulative with one another. It's very important that we understand this concept, how damage output is actually calculated within Demon Souls itself. But one thing I need to remind you as well, if you're playing with Demon Souls, make sure you have your Crescended weapon as level 4 and 5, because that will give you the maximum damage output. Your Crescended Falcon will also make sure, if you have it equipped, will give you a magical return. So it's a nice thing to have. That's one of the main reasons why I'm using it in my build, to make sure I'm only having a nice strong DPS output for melee attacks, but at the same time to make sure that I have a magical return. The Talisman of God, we only use this for the Miracle of Faith. We only need 16 faith, so we only use 1. And the same thing, we're using it on an offhand, and we cast this only once in the beginning of a boss fight itself. And yeah, that's the basic reason, the basic tool cage that we use within our tool cage. The other rings that we're using is the Kring Ring. The Kring Ring, we only use it in the form of boss fights. Otherwise, we're using different tool cages, the Teeth Ring, the Frigate Ring, the Solder Ring. Depends on the zone that we are. We use certain different rings to make our life much easier moving forward. And these are the base stats that we use actually in form of DPS output. And hopefully you understand this concept very important, because the DPS output is cumulative within Demon Souls itself. It's not additive within Demon Souls. So make sure you have these tools up and ready to go. But we cannot be a battle mage without a solid tool cage of weapon abilities. If you're going towards Demon Soul, you're gonna have different form of abilities, from Soul Form, for Flame Toss, all the way forward. But there's certain abilities that I like to use that makes my build, my way of playing, extremely OP'd, extremely viable. the very first weapon ability that I use is Soul Ray. Soul Ray is a piercing soul ability. It pierces himself towards armor of every NPC or target you have. If the targets are align themselves in the form of a cone, it will pierce to all of them and will one-shot every single one of them. It's a very strong ability as a bread and butter for this build. The second ability we like to use is Death Cloud. You generate a poisonous cloud and it's an AoE based effect damage. When the boss of any targets comes in towards it, it ticks over time and it deals damage. It's a nice thing to have in the form of the Flame Lurker itself. You put this dot on the ground, the Flame Lurker passes and it makes a dot over time, so it generates damage over time for you. You have more movability, you have more, just name it, you know, but at the same time you're always doing damage. It's a nice ability to have in form of boss fights, just in generally difficult fights that you have a lot of movability and you are trying to panic too much. Another ability I like to use is a Fire Spray. The Fire Spray is one of those abilities that you shoot fireballs towards your enemies. But the nicest thing about this ability is that it gives you movability. The Soul Spray is a static ability. You have to stand still. That makes sure that you are very vulnerable in certain situations. But the Fire Spray, you're always unmovable. You're always moving while shooting. So that makes sure if you are in circumstances that a lot of NPCs around you and you need to do a lot of damage and at the same time moving, a Fire Spray becomes very useful. The Warden is one of those great defenses ability that we use. This will make sure that we are not one-shotted by the boss or any other NPCs in the game itself. The Firestorm is a bread and butter from an execution. If you want to execute a boss and he's extremely weak into fire, that's the most important thing, is that using the Firestorm, we come close to our enemy and we're using Firestorm. It decimates every single NPC in the game itself. Extremely easy itself. And of course there are other abilities that we use, and another one for the Faith ability is Second Chance. We cast this before every single fight, every single boss fight. They will make sure to give us the opportunity if we do something wrong during a fight. It will give us the name save ourselves a second chance to life, so we can execute the boss and finish the fight. So this ability saved my life more than once through a New Game Plus, my way to platinum achievements within Demon Souls itself. So these are the tool cages and the weapons that I use within Demon Souls to make sure that I have the necessary advantage in every zone that I'm going towards to. And so far I have zero problem clearing New Game Plus. So but I cannot say this enough, it's very important that you as a gamer, you understand the zone that you are in and you prepare yourself in a solid way. Don't rush yourself towards a certain situation. Take your time, figure out the situation and then execute. But as you can see, this build is really constructed themselves for you as a gamer not to be afraid to engage certain situations, because this will destroy every single thing in one shot. That's it. And all those build videos you're seeing right now is all New Game Plus image playthroughs, of course. Otherwise I will have the souls, weapons and abilities already activated. On that note as well, we're coming closer and closer to the end of our stream right now. Hopefully this video was extremely helpful. Like I promised, I'm going to show you a PvP showcase of what this build actually can do in form of PvP. If you like this content, don't forget to press a like, comment down below and subscribe yourself. By doing so, you're not only helping me reaching other gamers, other players, and help me grow as a gamer itself and as a content creator itself. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think about this build and the way of playing I'm doing within Demon Souls itself. And hopefully I can see you all in an Elden Ring very soon, on other Soul series or other RPG games, or just in anything I stream on my channel itself. Also stay safe out there. That's the most important thing right now within this weird corona world. And I'll see every single one of you very soon. Memnon out. Love every single one of you. One love. Peace out. See you next time, and have fun with this build. Hopefully it's helpful. Bye bye.